Joining us now is Warren Mundine from the Centre for Independent Studies. Was it great to see you?
Good to see you too.
The Coalition has marked 1 year since the failed Voice referendum by renewing calls for an audit of spending on Indigenous programs. Whoever has to do that audit, Warren, I mean, the spending on Indigenous programs is out of control.
Yeah. Well, it's a very simple thing. I'm surprised we haven't done it. Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price and Senator Karen Little, even with the support of Senator, from the Greens, the ex-Green senator, Lydia Thorpe even come on side and supported.
We've tried to forget her too. It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
I thought I did till he reminded me, but anyway,
that's what I'm here for.
But and it was knocked off by the Greens and by the Labor, the government. What a simple thing. You get paid X amount of dollars to deliver Y. Have you did that job?
Yeah.
Where is the money being spent?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? And I think it's important that we do these things and make it continuously doing these things every year.
There has to be accountability. The amount of money that's going to fix that problem, to close the gap, and the outcomes, it just doesn't make sense that we have devoted so many resources and the results are so appalling.
Well, you look at some of the stupid things that were done. You look at the education, getting kids to schools. Under Nigel Scully and the Senator, who was the Minister for Indigenous Australians at the time, under the Abbott and even the Turnbull government, really pushed to get kids to school and get support. When Ken White came in as the Minister, the programs that were working, the top programs that were working and getting 95% success rate, he defunded them.
Oh, of course.
And he started funding all these other people who were getting no success rates. So we got to start, making these people accountable for what's going on.
Well, I mean, isn't the fundamental problem here that you've got this huge pile of money? It's unquestionable. It's unquestioned, as you say, because it hasn't been audited. So therefore, there's so many people who now have an interest in these programs continuing without, they're actually doing, which I think we've spoken about many times, which would seem to be the empowerment of individual Aboriginal Australians to, have their own title, have their own stake in the economy, right?
Yeah. Look, well, the thing is that there's four things that should be done, and you're right. And what did Lang said, and Paul Keating said, and if you've got a horse in a race and it's called self-interest, put your money on it.
That's right.
So, we've got to stop these things, and so there's got to be, from the Voice campaign, we've got a clear message from the Australian people. Forget about all this race divide. Work on needs, because there are, non-Aboriginal people in regional and remote Australia who are struggling as well. Start focusing on all that type of stuff. And the big ones, of course, is getting those kids to school, getting them an education, because without an education you haven't got a future, getting into economic participation, so jobs and running businesses, and dealing with the real issues of crime. The people who've been running the crime programs, you've got to say what a complete failure they have been, because it's just gone through the roof at the moment. And then, of course, the audits. We've got to make the governance audits and make sure things are happening.
Absolutely.
And we had the 1 year anniversary of The Voice on Monday. I played some clips of some of your clashes throughout that debate. Senator Price certainly copped it. No, you. There was the ABC interview, which I thought was appalling, but the incident on SBS where you had the host, Jacobs, calling Marsha Langton what did she call her? A national treasure, and saying you are lying about her, and SBS had to apologise. You were really impacted personally because the attacks against you were so ugly, they were so personal, from social media but also from mainstream media. A lot of people, I think, you would have thought would not go down that road. Just tell us what toll that took and how you've come through it.
And it's a continuous toll. You saw on Laura J's program this week with Eddie Sinnock. It just, I don't know what they teach people at university these days, but it's obviously not the truth. Anyway, it did take a lot of personal toll on me, because some people know that during that campaign I got into a suicidal position. But I wasn't going to be like what the Yes campaign did after they lost and lay in a fetal position on the floor. I still wanted to get up every day and fight the battle for Australia, fight the battle for everyone in this country. And they're the ones who kept me going, because I get up in the morning and I was just like going, oh my God, another day. And we're doing media interview after media interview, myself and Jacinta and them. And then we did sometimes 2 states a day, and that was, you didn't know what bed you were in or whatever. And I've got to say, the Australian people were really great. They come up to us, we proved there's a silent majority, because they come up to us and winked at us and whispered in our ear and say, kept it going. And I just fed off that energy. But every night I just collapsed in that hotel room.
But Warren, the problem we now get is that it just seems that the left, they've gone, OK, we lost that, so we'll just ignore the fact we lost it and we'll just plough on ahead with all these different policies. So do you have to do you and Jacinta have to, now fighting? I don't know your views on, for example, Welcome to Country or the land seizures at Toobiya that we were talking about. But do these issues now need to be fought one by one?
I got over my desk at home a quote from Margaret Thatcher, which says, about wars and that. In politics, you don't win wars, you win battles.
Yeah.
And the next morning you get up and you've got to fight the same battle again, and it's just continuous. Well, that has resonated with me, and it is a battle now because, with Dutton, and I hope he does win the next federal election, there has to be a massive reform in this area. And we have to really close that gap, and it can be closed as quickly as possible, but it has to be a massive reform.
And that's why
we're up for the battle.
We've got the state governments having treaties, and in Victoria, the entire Justice Department's having white privilege training in preparation for the treaty. This is just rife through the bureaucracy at state level, sometimes local government level, and federally as well.
Look, if the answer is we need a committee, then we're in big trouble. And we've had 50 years of this, and we're in big trouble. And we're just seeing things worse. And look at Leah we won the Chief Minister in Northern Territory, won the Northern Territory. The biggest issue by a country mile was crime, and crime in these communities. It's the same in North Queensland and in areas of Western New South Wales. The biggest issue is crime by a country mile. What are we doing about this? We're seeing this stupid battle about, should we raise it to 14 or keep it at 10 or whatever. To me, it's irrelevant. The real issue is we've got to go in there and face the facts in regard to how women are treated, how the kids are, and the issues that are happening. And the big ones, of course, if we can get kids to school instead of wandering the streets, if we can get them an education and we can get them to start a business or to get employed in that, then that will be a big step forward for dealing with some of these crime issues.
And what about you? You've got big companies with lots of money, deep pockets and all the rest. They think they're doing enough if they whack up an Aboriginal flag, or they do a Welcome to Country, or they put a sign up next to the veggie section or whatever it is saying this land was whatever. All the symbolic stuff. They do all that stuff. They pat themselves on the back and go, aren't we great? We're closing the gap or whatever. They're not doing anything. It's jobs for kids, isn't it? That's what it's all about. That's what companies should be focused on.
Well, that and women's health.
And women's health.
Woolworths come to me when they had that problem with Dan Murphy up across from an Aboriginal community in Darwin, which is an idiotic thing to do. And they said, what should we do? And I said, what you should do is look at women's health, because unfortunately that young bloke who was shot by the police officers at Yuendumu, he had never had a chance from birth. 14-year-old mother, having a baby, abandoned him in hospital. She was on drugs and alcohol and stuff. He was alcohol fetal syndrome he had, and he was passed around by a whole lot of relatives, and he was abused and everything, sexually, mentally, and everything like that. And by the time of 9, he just said, "Oh, okay, well, stuff it. I'm going to do to other people what they did to me." And he was just a monster for all that time. And so I said, look at women's health and prenatal, and so how we can work with women and stop these teenagers or babies having babies, and actually start, making a strong family unit that can deal with these issues. There's a whole lot of things that we can do, and it's look, I'm a very simple bloke. Just simple things, Like I think the biggest thing you can do to a person is give them a job.
Absolutely.
You not only change
100%.
their life, you change their kids' lives and their grandkids' lives.
Warren Mundine, we've said it before, on the anniversary of the Voice victory, well done to you and Jacinta. You're fantastic. All of Australia thanks you for for the great work you've done there and the battles you're still going to be fighting.
Oh, there's a lot more battles to come.
More battles to come with Warren Mundine, absolutely, and Jacinta Price. Great.